Welcome to our new episode and the topic of Tantra, your path to your own body and soul. We are looking at the questions of what is Tantra, where does it come from, how do we start a journey in Tantra, and what are the benefits of it? For all of these questions and many more, I invited to the conversation Paula and Linda from The Journey Within, a studio in Berlin located in Germany. The studio is around about 5 years old, and the practitioners already have experience around about 9 till 10 years in Tantra, and they will let us know about the practitioner itself and also what to expect and how to get in contact with them. And on that topic, I will, of course, put the homepage of Journey Within into the description. And I also put down timestamps. So if you are interested in certain topics, you can just jump around freely and listen to whatever you like. So on that note, thank you very much for your time. And thank you for being here, Paula and Linda. Welcome to our specific topic. And I'm looking forward to have a conversation with you. Paula, you may start and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having us, Dagmar. We're very excited to have this opportunity to share a little bit more about our work. So my name is Paula Strakos. I've been working with Tantra for about 10 years and have founded the studio Journey Within. I am half German, half Brazilian. So I grew up with access to different cultures. And I have originally studied law and worked as a lawyer. And in the process of, then after I was working for some time, I decided to explore a little bit more of what life had to offer to me, because I didn't really feel satisfied working as a lawyer. And I went to live in Germany. I did my master's and my PhD there. But it was really an excuse for me to have more time to go explore what does it really mean to be alive for me. And nice. During the PhD, I suffered a lot with the pure intellectual work and the loneliness that comes from just being you with information and pure scientific data, and started to explore more of self-development and self-healing tools. Even though I've always been interested in that, it was during my PhD that I kicked off going deeper into these studies. So I've studied many things. I'm an advanced yoga teacher. I've done Reiki courses, meditation, hypnosis, intuition trainings, many different things, until I finally came to Tantra. And that was one of the most powerful tools that I experienced in my own healing path. So it's also the one that I decided to work with once I had the chance for it. So at some point I finished the scholarship I had for my PhD finished, and I made this transition to working with Tantra, and started by giving Tantra massages in other big studios. And with time, I realized that I wanted to do my own thing and give it a special emphasis. So I ended up starting my own studio and built a team of amazing therapists that share this passion with me. So cool. This is who I am.
And it's also unexpected. I didn't know that. It's like, oh, lawyer. That was probably would be the last thing I would expect of a lawyer. And that shows the stereotypes we have in our heads already.
Yes. I mean, being a lawyer was a career that was almost expected by me. I grew up in Brazil mainly, and there's a lot of social inequality here. So it was very much an option of having to make money to have the living standards that are much more common in Europe. So until then, I was living the life that was expected from me. But I really wanted to go into a journey of who am I, what is my real passion, and what gives sense to the existence, to my own existence. So that's where I ended up in Tantra. And I find it important to share the story because indeed there are many transformations that we can go through in our lives, and also to give, because I come from a very scientific, rational background, and how it is possible to combine these two worlds of a more spiritual approach to life and more holistic together with a very rational one.
I like that very much. That is so cool. And I think we're going to dive deeper into that later as well. Right now, I would love to give the word also to Linda so she can introduce herself to the audience. Linda? Maybe we already lost her due to the connection, which would be a pity. No,
Hello.
there she is.
Hello. I'm here. Hello, everyone. Hello, world. And thank you, Dagmar, for having us in your show and letting us, as Paula said, an opportunity to talk more about ourselves and about our work. And yeah, it's super important work that we're doing. So yes, I'm Linda Mäkelä. I'm 37 years old. I'm originally from Finland. I am an advocate of free movement and dance and somatic body work, I would say. And for the listeners who doesn't know what somatic body work is, and any type of body work where you and the client consciously work with the inner perceptions and using mind-body techniques to release any tension that is weighing the emotional and physical well-being down. And these techniques could involve anything from breathing exercises, meditation, dance, and other forms of body movement, massages, obviously. That's why we're here. My first encounters with Tantra, I would say, have been somewhere around 2010 when I first traveled to overseas to Thailand, and I saw people who seemed really very connected, and I admired them a lot and wanted to find such peace in my life too. So I started from different self-loving practices at that time. That was, by the way, time that I was still working as a social worker, and I have an academic studies in social work. But later on, I realized that the dogmatic setting of working for the government, and especially through my own rising awareness, it was not enough for me anymore, and I felt really restricted in that work, and because I couldn't recommend the healing modalities that I got to try in my life, and I felt that it was not enough for the people that I was trying to help. So I eventually ended up quitting my job as a social worker and dived into the deep dive, moved into Berlin in 2016. I met a lot of people in different sex positive circles, was introduced different ways of living and loving, and it was really the time for me to explore myself in a new way. I was also coming out from a really long relationship, so a lot of changes at that time, and I was really I was really thirsty for learning and to connecting with people in a new, more deep and more connected way, and that kind of directed me to the direction where I'm now. So the personal motivation to do Tantra was to connect deeper with myself and with my surroundings and to the people around me, obviously. And the motivation to start giving Tantra massages came actually as in a conclusion with Paula. I encouraged her to offer Tantra massage courses some time ago, and then I participated to her courses and started to work in her beautiful studio.
Nice.
So
I like that very
much. My story in a nutshell.
Yeah. And it's so cool because it also is a story from the both of you about being brave and trying something completely new and different. And I like that very much.
Exactly.
Really cool. So just starting in the beginning, because there are a lot of stereotypes around the topic, that we deep dive into what is actually Tantra, and also what is Tantra for you, so that we actually can build a frame of reference for the audience and maybe take some stereotypes off the table that people most of the time would think about. Paula, tell us about it.
Thank you. Well, it's not such a clear origin of Tantra because it has always been an oral tradition. So documentation is quite hard to find. But what we know is that it's a tradition that is at least around 2000 years old. And it originated from Hinduism and Buddhism. And whatever we talk about nowadays, it's neo-Tantra, especially in the West. So the traditional Tantra is either unknown or practiced in very secretive traditions in the East. So one of the main principles of Tantra is that it's non-dualistic. So it says that everything contains its opposite. So sometimes we know the concept of yin and yang. So darkness and brightness, one only exists with the other, hot and cold, feminine and masculine, up and down. So these are all complementary. And in Tantra, they say that it's the same thing. It's the two sides of one coin. It's the expression, two different expressions of the same thing. So with this, also the material world and the non-material world have the same importance, are the same thing. So the body and the soul, they're not anymore two separate things like in most other traditions like Hinduism or Christianism. So it's the same thing. And with that, the body is as sacred as the soul. And everything that we do with the body is already sacred, is already an expression of divinity, which clashes with the idea that we need to transcend the body in order to experience the divine or God, or however you want to call it. So in Tantra, it's not about transcending the body, but cherishing the body, seeing the body as the temple where the soul resides, and cherishing everything that is material. So if something exists, it is already sacred. That's the principle behind it. So the body is sacred, and what we do with the body is sacred. So with that, sexual energy that many times is put aside in other life and religion traditions is integrated as a tool that we use to come in contact with the divinity, with God, with that which is sacred inside of us. So that's the link with sexuality. That, I guess, it's also important to differentiate between white Tantra and red Tantra. So in white Tantra, we move energy in the body, but without activating expressly the sexual energy. And in red Tantra, we expressly include the sexual energy as a tool for healing and connection with the divine, as I said before. So the main thing around Tantra, besides this principle, is the idea of moving energy in the body, moving energy through the chakras, and with that creating space for more energy to flow through to awaken the Kundalini, which is an energy that is stored in the base of our spine, but could also be understood in more Western terms, our life force. To awaken that and let that flow freely to us, so that we experience the unity with everything that exists, the divinity, or all these other spiritual truths that many of us seek. So yes, that's where I would stop.
Yeah, and that is also a very complex and very in-depth description of it. I really like that. I didn't know, for example, that there's red and white Tantra. That was very interesting right now for me. And also, I know, as a side note, for people who do not know what chakras are, that these things are energy centers. And if you go into the Indian school for that, you have 7 chakras on the top of your body, or on the front side and on the back side, as energy centers that circle around us. We can't see them. It's a subtle sense energy, but you can measure it in our level. So that is pretty cool. So it's actually really a holistic point of view how to move energy and heal through that.
Yes, it is. And maybe more Western terms, in neuroscience, we've been talking a lot about mind-body connection. Which is something that, in my understanding, is what has been preached by Tantra all these years, which is the idea that our mind is not separate from our body, which is something that we seem to experience in our culture, right? We go to school and we train only our minds, and we neglect what is our body telling us, or what are the feelings that are coming up. We are left a little bit alone in that sense. So is this understanding that there's a unity, there's this holistic approach. We are our bodies, and we feel, and everything we think is also connected to what we're feeling. So for instance, if I feel fear, the blood pressure is gonna change. My veins are gonna get bigger or smaller, my eyes. So it's all a physical reaction that we have as well. And then we translate this into thoughts. But thinking of the human being only as our minds and what we think is quite limiting. And Tantra gives us this ancient perspective on this that is already nowadays being proven more and more by science.
Really good. And from the perspective of you yourself, what is, if we let all the science and everything else out there, what is Tantra for you specifically? If you can practice.
So for me, Tantra is a tool for self-knowledge, for getting to know yourself, to understanding who you are, what are your desires, and how to communicate that in the world. So in Tantra, we want to seek these spiritual experiences and then apply them in everyday life, different from yoga, where you sit in meditation, and the idea is you go to a cave and meditate your way into the solving with the universe and never come back. So in Tantra now, we want to integrate this into your life. So it's a spiritual experience through the body, including the body, that we can then live out in our everyday lives. So for me, it's also a tool to learn to communicate and relate better with other people, and to create the life of my dreams, let's say. It gives me the tools to empower myself of who I am, what I want, what is my vision, what am I doing here in this world, and how do I put that into practice.
Nice. I like that. I really like that. Linda, how about you? Like, what is it for you, Tantra specifically?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Paula, for bringing such an overall description, and the history of Tantra was very well explained. I was listening here like, wow, it's super easily understandable from the way that you speak and how you express it, and it's exactly like that. And I can relate to a lot what you said about what it is for you. And just to add something on top, for me, it's the understanding of the weaving of these dualities, the yin and the yang, or the masculine and the feminine, or the light or the dark, or plus and the minus, you name it. But how the universe is working is because of these polarities, these opposites, and we create life through that. And Tantra for me is implementing those energies into my everyday, day-to-day life, and deepening intimate connections with all living things, so that I can live more intentionally, more sensually, more connected in this human experience. And yeah, when I talk about the masculine and the feminine energies, or the polarities, I obviously talk about the giving and the receiving energies, not gender-related energies. So masculine in this case being more the giving, moving forward, leading energy, and the feminine being the receiving, following, responding energy. Just to make that clear, so that there is no misunderstanding with the terminology. So, but all in all, path of life, Tantra, it's a way of life.
Nice. And You already let us know a little bit how you came to Tantra and what changed for you in your lives and your work experience. Can we deep dive a little bit more into that? What were your first learnings? Because very often the stereotype is Tantra is all about sex. And what you explained right now had nothing to do with sex itself. So what were the first learnings for yourself regarding Tantra, and how did your life or your healing experience went along on your journey? Paula, maybe you can start. Exactly.
Yes. So I started to get curious about Tantra when I was coming out of the biggest heartbreak of my life, I call it. And I figured that whatever had been told me about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a sexual being, was flawed, was not really bringing me to the experiences I wanted to have, was not making me able to connect with other people and create the relationships that I wanted for my life. So I started to go on a journey to find out, okay, what does it mean to be a woman? What happens if I don't follow all the stereotypes that society puts out there for me? And it's important to remember that I grew up mainly in Brazil, so it's a very sexist society where it's very prescribed what a woman can and cannot do and how she should be. So we should be beautiful and sexy, but not too sexual, and protect our sexuality and all these that all of us experience in different degrees. So I went out exploring that, and with that also exploring my sexuality. What would happen if I wouldn't guide myself through the norms that are put by society? So what happens if I connect to and follow my pure sexual instinct? So I was exploring that, and I heard about Tantra, and of course I got very curious about it because it was the only tradition or structure that would actually address sexuality, and from a spiritual point of view, which I've always been interested in, right? To understand, why am I actually alive? Right? This was a question that had always been there for me. So there's not such an easy access to Tantra because it's a significant financial investment for the first time. So I met people that were in this area, and I connected with them on a personal level first. So this is how I entered then this world. But coming back to your question, which is what it brought to me, the first learnings I had, I think the first realization I had is to learn to feel everything that is there, and with that to learn to feel this hole that I was carrying inside. I had in my visions, it was sort of a dark hole that really needed the approval and the love of other people to validate myself, to give myself worth. So my first learning was first to feel this pain of not being loved that I was carrying around with me, and to realize how much I put myself through situations that weren't my truth, or wasn't really honest with myself and others about what I wanted, who I was, what I needed, because I just wanted desperately to be loved by other people. So this was the most also transformative learning that I had, to learn myself in the first place, and to, through accessing my body, learning to love myself more and learning to feel this connection with the universe that is always there. I did belong to this world, and I was already perfect the way I was, in my imperfections, of course, but I was already, I deserve to be loved by myself first and feel this connection with the world, and from that place then be able to relate to others from a place of much more honesty and truth. So that's the most revolutionary thing in my life, and that's what inspires me also to share this work with other people.
And it also explains very well why the studio is called The Journey Within, I think.
Yes, it does, because I believe many of the treasures we're looking for are deep down inside of us. And the journey within is, sharing the tools for you to get in contact with this infinite source of love that is already there inside of you.
Really good. Thank you very much for sharing. Linda, how about you?
I love that. Very beautiful answer. Yeah, for me, I was realizing that I had very similar background in how I stumbled upon tantric practices or people that were practicing it. Was that I was then finally coming out from a really long relationship. I was together with a man for 10 years, and from my 20s to my early 30s, and I didn't really know who I was as a woman and what I wanted, how to communicate my boundaries. We were very interwoven in very intertwined as a couple, and weren't really able to reflect or be self-responsible of our reactions in that relationship, and that obviously caused a lot of disharmony in it, and that then was one of the reasons why we separated from that journey. And I guess that curiosity then to what else is there, and who am I as a woman, who am I as a sexual being, what does this world has to offer to me, led me to the people and to the practices and to the events that kind of brought me always closer to the core, to my raw being, who I am in this world. And yeah, through that, I have found a lot of meaning in my life, and obviously that's why I'm here to help others to feel their journey as well, and to help them to overcome something that I maybe overcame already where I can. So.
And that's also a great thing. Thank you for sharing that. And it reminds me of my students in my further education in transactional analysis, because I always tell them, you just always get the clients that you're ready to also have as a client, and you also need to work everything for yourself out before you can work actively on other humans. And I see the parallels right now in Tantra, which is really beautiful. You both do that already a long time. How is the journey itself regarding the education? Like, for my example is, I'm never ready with further educations. It's like I'm never done. It's like I can always learn more. But how do you actually become a Tantra practitioner in order to also then give massages to other people?
Yes, I totally agree with that, Dagmar, that we need to walk the path ourselves to then guide the way for others. And I would like to add to that it's a constant work, right? We're never completely ready. And the more we work on ourselves, the deeper is the space that we can hold for other people to walk the same path, right? Yeah, so sorry, back to your question.
The question, yeah, no problem. The question of how do you actually become a practitioner? Like, first you start for yourself, and then you decide to become a practitioner. So how is that working out? And Linda also, no, you said Paula, it's also a financial investment in yourself, which is a good thing.
Yes, definitely. And the more you invest in yourself, the more people are also ready to invest to work with you as a consequence. So there are different courses you can make. There's not an institutionalized Tantra training, right? There are people that attempt to do that, but at the end, as I mentioned, it's an oral tradition, it's an experiential tradition. As you go through the experiences, you're able to hold space for other people to do the same. But we offer a journey within Tantra massage course that is as well for people that are curious to learn that, to implement it in their personal life, as well as for people that want to work with that. And we have 3 levels. So you start with first an introduction, which is the full body experience without focusing so much on the genitals, so that you can have a first impression if that is something that makes sense for you. Although you go already quite deep into the experience there, it makes it easier for people to access because it's not yet with the genital intimate touch. And you can keep on going until level 3. And we are also offering now a women's retreat where it's not focused only on learning Tantra massage itself, because a Tantra massage is the principles of Tantra applied to body work, to massage. But Tantra can be experienced in many formats. So there are retreats that are Tantra themed, but it mainly revolves about everything that is to strengthen the mind-body connection and the connection to yourself in general. So we also offer the specific course for women. And besides that, there are many excellent practitioners in the world where you can do longer retreats, a week or a month, even in India or in Berlin. So yeah, you can look for that. I think the important thing is that you discern what really resonates with you, because there's also lots of abuse of power in this context. And as it's an exoteric tradition, let's say, that we use many words, but you only get to understand it once you really experience it. It's important that you are your own authority. Never give this authority to anyone else. So if something is not feeling good for you, listen to your intuition and maybe look for someone else to learn from. So these traditions should always make you feel better about yourself, empower you, and not disempower you and make you dependent of any type of guru.
So finding your own favorite teacher, I would say.
Yes, finding your teachers, and you can read in books, but the important thing is to experience stuff. And then once you experience it and you feel very passionate about it, you can keep on learning. And at some point, for instance, at my studio, if you go through the 3 courses, you still have to make an interview, let's say, where you make a probe massage, a test massage to see where you're at. And of course, it helps. The more body work experience you have, the better you can offer the work, like in any other career.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's really trying it out and also connecting to other people, but also to yourself, because I think that's the most important part with that experience. And that also brings me to the clients the both of you have. Like, I was a client last November and I really, really enjoyed that. And I really refer everyone to have a Tantra massage, because you're so relaxed in that. It's just 3 hours of getting love for yourself. It's really, really enjoyable. So let us jump to the topic of who are your clients? Like, who is coming with what symptom or what topic or whatever? What is your experience there?
Okay, I can give you a general view on that. First, I'm very happy to hear you had a wonderful experience coming to a Tantra massage. And yes, many times it's the entrance point for people to come to a Tantra massage, right? And there are many healing aspects of it. So just being able to receive and the slowness that comes to it, and creating the space for yourself where you're able to stop for a moment, breathe deeper, and through this slowness, feel whatever is there and release maybe emotions that you didn't have time during your everyday life to process, or didn't have the safe space for it, to let that flow. So a big part of it is to release and bring to flow emotions that we haven't in our life for different reasons, childhood trauma, or stresses from everyday life, or just social conditioning in general. And from there, more energy can come into flow and more pleasure can come into flow, and you feel much more alive and connected to yourself and others. So I think the clients that come for us revolve mainly about 2 topics. Well, one topic at the end, which is the connection. Connection to yourself, to your body, to your truth. And in a second moment, connection to other people. So feeling happy in your relationships, and yeah, basically that, feeling at home in the world.
Yeah.
And then it goes down into more specific things. Maybe Linda wants to share a little bit of her experience with that, and I can give you an overview of more of it later if needed.
Yeah, Linda, go ahead.
I would love to, yes. that was a very good overall explanation already, but just to name a few other things that were not mentioned yet, that I, within this year that I've been giving Tantra massages professionally, has been also just a pure curiosity. What is it? As Paula said, it's a door to open to new realms of connection, but curiosity, what is it? What is a Tantra massage? Someone wants to experience something new, or yeah, receiving loving touch when they don't have time for it, or they don't have a person who would provide that to them. So that's also often the case, but but also more serious topics such as disconnection from self and others, and wanting to feel more intimacy and openness into their lives, and sexual wellness topics also, like erectile issues or inability to reach an orgasm, or there's been a woman after birth who had a traumatic birth, so PTSD after birth, relationship issues, stress, overworking, overproductivity, which is very common in our societies. We constantly have to deliver. We're in pressure to be productive all the time, and just to have this little piece of serenity in our lives and this space to do nothing and to deliver nothing is golden from my experience. And yeah, then some people might just want to learn something new about themselves, and couples might come when they've lost intimacy with each other and they want to deepen their connection within their relationships. That's my experience so far. Maybe Paula have even more specific situations or motivation for people. She has a longer experience in massaging, so if there's anything to add, I would also be curious to hear.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you put it all to the point. I think it comes from all sorts of people come, women and men, and in different phases. So sometimes it's right after a breakup because they notice that they're not feeling themselves and feeling disconnected to their body or their truth or what they actually want, because in the relationship they were so much giving and pleasing the other person that they lost this contact to themselves, or sometimes have never actually experienced it, right? Because depending on the environment we grew up, we were never asked, what are you feeling? What do you actually want? Yeah, so people, everything around relationships. So after a failed relationship, or when people are investing and understanding themselves before starting a relationship, then there are fresh couples that come because they're committed to making this work, and they want to have as many tools as possible to create intimacy between them. Then there are long-term couples that lost the spark because they had children or because they've been together for a really long time. And they want to reignite and learn how do you create intimacy when it doesn't come from this passion that in the beginning makes everything so exciting. So that's also something that Tantra is very powerful to increment our life with. And yeah, and then individuals come, yeah, I mean, Linda mentioned a few cases after birth, for instance, but any big occasion that happened in your life that made you somehow disconnected from your body and from your feelings. I had also, very interestingly, women that wanted to get pregnant and couldn't, and started to try different things. So it's also quite powerful to connect you with your sexuality in general, right? Many people are just curious. I know there is more to this than what society tells me, but I don't know how to find it. So they come to Tantra because they want to really feel alive in their sexuality. And in this case, also to feel alive in their sexual power and their creative power. So I once had a woman that was trying to get pregnant, and she didn't tell me And we did first a massage, and then we went into a coaching process. And at some point we did a womb meditation, where for the first time she took some time to breathe into her womb, to connect with all the feelings that were there, to establish a sort of communication with this energy center in your body. And after that, she swears that she got pregnant. After she started to feel her womb, the womb opened up to receive another life. And of course, it's not that simple, and this is a very complex topic, and we don't promise in any way pregnancy or any healing concrete in those terms. But it is an interesting story that might also be empowering for other people.
And it shows also it's not just connections in a way we most of the time as humans think we have connections, like we have connections to ourselves and we just use that word and most of the people don't know what it means to them, or we have connections to others. We can also, and I do that very often with my clients, that we do meditations where we do organ journeys, and that just reminded me of that. It's like, okay, have a journey to your womb and get in contact with that, because every cell in your body is conscious. So really cool. Like when she for herself says like, oh, now I got pregnant, whatever opened up, whatever kind of connection channel went into a full energizing mood, perfect.
Yes, for sure. Our body has its own wisdom, right? We're used to understand the wisdom of the mind, but the body has its own, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, rational sense, but it makes an intuitive and felt sense, and it actually brings you forward into your life. And just to add, another very interesting case that I have is a client with a self-immune disease. And through the tantric practices we have, she learned to allow the feelings. So one very powerful thing for everyone is to allow the feelings to come out of us, right? We learn to repress our feelings in different stages of life. And Tantra gives you, through this connection with the body, with breath, sound, and movement, the opportunity to allow the intensity of all the feelings, to let them flow through you, to express them, to put them out there instead of turning them inward and repressing them. And with that, a lot of physical healing can happen as well, but mainly this sense after you feel the intensity of feelings, they also relax and you come into a state of more peace and acceptance. And with that, also more honesty. Once you feel actually how angry you are with something, for example, you're much more able to set boundaries, to put yourself out there and say, this is not okay for me, this is what I want. And to have the strength to do this, you need to be able to access all your emotions, including your anger, that many times is judged in society, right, as something that you shouldn't feel and put aside. But when we don't put this out, we turn it against ourselves. So this comes then into also a lot of a psychological process to learn to put this out and just live a better life then.
Which is super important. It's like getting in touch with your emotions and also realizing what I always get in touch with my clients is to show them a lot of emotions that we have are cover-up emotions for an actual emotion that is laying underneath, and we don't even get in contact with that because we never learned. Like, we're not getting sad, but instead we're getting angry because nobody in our childhood wanted us to see us sad, so we choose another emotion to cover that up. And I can imagine that Tantra is a good help to actually feel again, like, what is the emotion that I actually have right now?
Yes, definitely. Sometimes sadness hides anger, and sometimes anger hides sadness, according to what was allowed in your childhood environment, for sure.
Exactly.
And this applies also to pleasure. Many times we learned we cannot be loud, we cannot be too sexual, we cannot feel too much pleasure. So we also repress positive or pleasant emotions, let's say. So it's also about learning to that. How would it feel if I would express all this pleasure that I'm feeling right now? How would I be in this specific situation in your sexual interactions, but also in life, if I would allow the joy to be there? How would I move through life? Yeah,
and I think that's a very intense journey. It's like I was wondering after my session, I was asking myself, like, so how is that actually going along? Because when I have sessions with my clients in TA, it's different because that is just a coaching session that they decide when they want to have it. And with my other work as a practitioner of body talk and downloading, I always need to ask the system of my client when would be another session. And for myself, I asked myself the question. I was like, okay, so when do I do another Tantra session? And I actually popped up in my head, like, this is basically like tooth cleaning. You should do it at least like the professional tooth cleaning. You should at least do it twice a year to have perfect teeth and a perfect smile. This was my connection that I did, which is a funny connection, but that you actually can gift that to yourself once or twice a year. But what would be your time frame, or what is your experience of the intensity of how often you should practice this if you're not a practitioner, if you just get it as a client?
Interesting association with the teeth cleaning. Very good. So yeah, it depends, of course, what you are looking for, right? If you come to work on a specific topic, you might need it with more frequency in the beginning to go deep into that. But if you are coming in general terms because I want to feel more alive, I want to feel more connected, yes, a certain regularity is desired, like the teeth cleaning, because it gives you a reset, right? And we live in a, I like this term that Gabor Mate is talking about a lot lately, which is this toxic society we live in. So we live in a society that represses us in many ways, doesn't teach us how to feel, doesn't give us the space for it. And with social media and all this external validation, consumerism system, disconnects us from our truth, from our peace, inner peace, and our intuition. So because we are in this environment, we needed quite constant, a reminder, no, wait, where is your truth? How does it feel to be in your body? What feels right for you, not what is the world outside telling you, right? So this might be a Tantra massage every 6 months for sure, or you can engage in a coaching session where we then look also into specific aspects in your life. How does this translate in your life? How can you bring change into your everyday life if this is what you desire? And then I recommend a coaching process that is either every 2 weeks or once a week. And of course, coming to a course where you learn yourself the techniques, and you can apply it then with the lovers in your life or friends. It not always has to be sexual. It's wonderful when it's sexual, but it can be just learning to access your feeling, learning to unwind whatever needs to be unwind or felt or experience, so that you can come again to more flow of energy. And then there are little practices that you can do. I mean, this comes together with other types of healing modalities, but somatic work in general. So if every day you can take 5 to 10 minutes to breathe deeply, to move without any specific agenda besides feeling yourself and noticing what are the stuff that I'm hiding for myself, either because I don't have the safe space to feel it at time, or because I just don't want to feel it because it's uncomfortable. So creating the space to feel that, because once we open up for one thing, or if we want to open up for more pleasure and vitality in our life, we need to be able to open up to all range of feelings, right? When you repress one, you're repressing all. And when you open up, you need to learn to allow all of them to keep on connecting again with this vitality that comes and goes. Everything is in waves in life, right? So creating the spaces for you to feel yourself, and the more sessions you receive, then easier that gets, for sure.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Linda, do you have anything to add to that and your experience with your clients?
Yeah, just to add into that is that the point of every therapeutic relation, right, is to finally get out of it and to find your own ways and methods to sustain your fulfilling life. And Paula just mentioned all these techniques that one can learn daily, and so therefore it was a good answer that there is really not really one recommendation that fits all, but it has to come from the person. What are their specific personal needs? If it's a coaching period that you're tackling a certain topic together and finding ways and methods to then continue finally alone, or if it's just, like you said, brushing the teeth or having a checkup with the dentist, then it doesn't have to be so often and so consequent. But obviously, everyone deserves a space to express their emotions and their inner landscapes and their feelings in a safe environment and in a facilitated space, so that they can really truly connect to themselves and to what is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Not having to do that work alone necessarily at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think it's also, oh, sorry, Paula?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead, Dagmar.
I just wanted to ask, like, is it, what is your experience regarding how many of your clients then also turn into practitioners? This is for me always like, if anyone is going into transactional analysis or into body talk or downloading, I'm always super happy. It's like, oh my God, now they do even more for themselves because they become actual practitioners and book courses or further educations. What is your experience there?
Well, I did. So that's my
Yes.
own experience. I guess the more you realize the benefit of the actual work, the more you want to spread the word around that and make other people feel and experience similar things in life. So I don't know how common that is. Maybe Paula can answer to that. But in my personal case, that was exactly how it went.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a percentage, it's hard to say, of people that want to practice it, that feel the call, that are born for it. But I feel in Tantra is not so many people that end up working with it, because we deal with topics of sexuality and the body, and it's something that the whole society benefits from. Because sexuality is a twisted and taboo topic in society in general, and it affects everyone. It affects the young, the middle-aged, the old, and all genders. So it's beneficial for everyone, and people from all the backgrounds come to us. And many times they want to learn this for their personal life. So even people that go deeper into courses and once a year go to a Tantra retreat, many times they do this for their own personal life, indeed, even never coming to practice it as a teacher.
Yeah. Which is also a great thing to multiply the effect, because it's not just for yourself. Because what I experienced, I'm never shy with things that I try out, and I try out a lot of things, because I think every modality is getting me better to myself and whatever kind of blockages I have that I can get rid of. So I was going out and I was telling everyone about, I did a Tantra massage, and I was very surprised how open the people were. That they were not like, what did you do? They were like, oh, you know, I thought about that too, but I haven't done it. Or I know someone who did it. So I have the feeling like right now it's rather opening up to the topic. How is your perception of that?
Yes, in the German-speaking territory, very much so, because there has been lots of talk about it in the media. But in general, every topic related to sexuality, if you say you're a sexuality coach or therapist or couples and relationship, it's a topic that all of us struggle with. Raise the hand of one person that has not had a troubled experience relating, or been in a context of a relationship being troubled and then affecting everyone around them, right? So we are figuring out what it means collectively, what it means to be connected to our bodies, to be free sexual beings. So you have to think that the feminist revolution is very recent. It's less than 100 years ago that women can understand themselves as sexual being, that can use this freely, right? So we're still figuring it out in the whole of society. So I think that everyone is curious about it.
Really good. Linda, what is your approach to that, or your experience?
I wanted to add that for sure, the personal experience of receiving a Tantra massage, as you said, you've been talking to everyone about it, what it did to you, it's already in itself healing the surroundings. You are emanating this new energy that is contagious for people, and that is in itself bringing already a lot. So not everyone has to turn into a practitioner or a masseuse after having that, but something really profound might change in their lives. And the more connected they feel with themselves, the more connected they can feel with the people around them. And that is a chain reaction in itself already. Just to add what already was being said.
Yeah. No, I like that thought. It's like, I always ask, like, whom would I give that as a gift card? It is intimate, it's maybe a taboo, but I'm like, but someone has to have that or is deserving of it. Because I very often think we're not spoiling ourselves enough. And if we come back to the topic of it's a financial investment, it's also the point of how often do I do that in a year and how much does it cost for me? And a lot of people ask me then, it's like, so how much did you pay? And for my whole session, the 300 euros, I was like, that is nothing compared to someone giving me 3 hours of their attention and then also the physical affection. And people do not get that in their own relation. It's like, what? That's way too much money. And I'm like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. What is your experience in that sense?
Yes, I find it quite interesting to price our services because there's one measurement that is, okay, if we analyze or consider the benefit that this creates in people's lives. For instance, making you feel at home in your body and feeling comfortable in your own skin, and with that loving yourself and standing up for yourself in your life. What's the price of this? It's immeasurable, right? Or saving a relationship, a marriage that almost went lost, and then suddenly you have tools to connect to each other and to see each other and feel again the connection that brought you together in the first place. What's the price of that? There's no price, right? Many times we try to solve our problems with consuming. So buying something new, this is going to make me feel better. And it actually doesn't. So yeah, investing the money in this is priority number one in my life, and I want to inspire people to do the same thing. And just to share for myself, I get a body work session every month at least. So that's what I need, and I would do it more if I had the time and the needs.
That's a good thing. Yeah, that's a point. That's very good to have that every month. I also do that with Body Talk and downloading twice a month, and people are like, what? How often do you let other people work on you? It's like as often as I need it, because I for myself also realized, it's like if I have blind spots for myself, I need an external helping hand. And in your case, it's an actual helping hand to help me in that situation, because I know I'm not getting anywhere with the situation that I'm having right now in my life. So Linda, what is your experience with that? Like, how do people maybe approach you, and what is the reaction on your services and your massages?
Yes, thank you. So people actually approach us through the webpage. So I don't really have direct interaction with the people. So I don't know if there is any conversation or discussion about the money, but I never actually in my bubble met a person who would say that it's too expensive. We already talked about the fact that it's really difficult to put a price on a service that is impriceable. It's not easy to measure the benefit in the construction in our societies that we know about. It's not to be measured in productivity, but it's to be measured in other values, and we don't really have that appreciation yet. So in my perspective, I can easily spend money to vanity, to things that I don't really need, and but when it comes and do that throughout the month, easily goes 300 euros to something. But when it's there as a price of 300 euros, I realize that the reaction first might be, oh, it's a 300 euro thing. But then thinking of what benefit do I get from it, it's not a question for me anymore. I'm also doing and receiving bodywork sessions for myself. And when I know the value and the benefit of it through my own experience, I don't question the price.
Which I like. And I think it's also a shift of your own awareness of what is needed for me, and also what do I usually spend money on? And as well, the question of, am I feeling worth to receiving that? Because I think it's just like a protection mechanism of the people that I talk to, that they say like, "Ooh, that is way too expensive. I'm not doing that." And I'm like, wouldn't you do that? Or is it just you put the price tag on it and say like, this is too expensive, so you don't need to actually think and go and do it and give something to yourself? This is also the question that I ask myself when I have these specific ways of thinking when I approach that.
Indeed, there might also be some kind of a resistance to dive deeper into unknown waters, to the self-work, to the self-inquiries that might prohibit people then to really make that decision to do that choice, to choose the session.
Yeah. And again, I can say I recommend to do a session. I recommend it. Paula, you wanted to say?
Yes, and usually then after the session or after a course, people consider that it was very cheap actually for what they got out of it, right? It's also a cultural mindset about what are you willing to spend money on, as you said, Dagmar. So it's usually very worth it. And I also would like to point out that the courses, they also cost around 300 euros, so 360 euros. And there you get 2.5 days of an immersion into these practices, and can take it home. So that's also an alternative when you cannot afford to get one session regularly.
Yeah. There I have a follow-up question, because I know that from other practitioners, the courses, do you come there as a couple or a single person? And how is it balanced out with male and female? Or is it just male or just female? So many questions. Sorry, so many questions.
That's a very common question. So in our courses, you can come together with someone or by yourself, and then we pair people up. So I try to understand the gender preferences from who comes, and to make sure that there is enough pairing up everyone. There's different exercises, so you get the chance to pair up with different people and learn what different bodies and personalities need, right? So that's it. Yes, great. Linda?
Yeah, I would like to add that I, for example, first went to that course with my partner, but very soon I realized that it's a very safe place, and Paula is really curating the space very beautifully, people to meet each other on a very vulnerable, true, authentic way. And there was no question about safety for me to work with other bodies and with other people during there. So the rest of my courses I've done alone as well, and found my confidence in that.
Beautiful. That is really beautiful. And if we're on that topic, Linda, I would give that also to you. Would you like to walk us through a session? Like, how can you imagine a Tantra session actually, could you say, go down? No pun intended here, but basically how everything is happening around a Tantra session.
Just like a practical run through of the,
exactly,
for example, the 3 hours, what is happening there. Well, first, when a client comes, we have time to have a pre-talk where we talk about the intention of the session, if there is anything that the client is wanting to resolve, or if there is any topics that they want to overcome, or just mention any trauma, any healing that they're expecting. And of course, then I, from my side, would tell what Tantra massage is about. And it's not about an exchange. It's a personal, very personal experience for the person. It's a journey within, and I encourage always people to really dive into their own feelings, the emotions that might come up. It's best if you have your eyes closed. You can then close the outside world and just see what kind of touch brings what's on the surface and what it brings to you. So the whole point is to stay in a very present moment and just be an observer of the emotions, like how they pass in your life and how you can witness and see them, but not get too attached to any of them and just let them pass and move through you. And so that is very important part of the whole session, to have this talk, so that there is a framework and a setting for the session to be safe for both parties, and where healing can then happen through that. I always find it very important to have all the measurements of the session to be mentioned in the beginning, so that there is space for communication, there is space for, I don't know, go to the bathroom in between, or there's space to say what feels good and what doesn't feel good. We're often conditioned in intimate situations, right? We're often conditioned to not say it at the right moment when something feels wrong, or we would like something else to be more there because it's a very vulnerable moment and we don't want to hurt the other person and all that. So when it's already framed before that there is space for this, and it is encouraged to speak out in the beginning, then the whole session is more open, and there is space to speak your mind. And I often say that to my clients, that this is also a place to practice communication and boundaries, for sure, because of the reasons that I just mentioned. And then after this talk, there is time for a quick shower, obviously, in the beginning, because the massage will happen without clothing. And it is important to feel good in your body and feel fresh and safe. And massage, in my sessions, I'm sure that every practitioner, every masseuse have their own way of doing things, but how I love to start my sessions is with a little grounding meditation, or like arriving to the space together, seeing what is present, seeing what is needed. Maybe some people come a little bit nervous, then maybe shaking, or moving the body is a good tool to get rid of that. And obviously breathing and connecting together, arriving together to the space. And one of my favorite parts of a session is a standing ritual where two bodies, two souls are connecting and welcoming each other to the space. And then through that connection, the massage itself can start. And in the massage itself, there is parts where the body is being sensibilized with softer touch, so that the energies can flow freely. One can really start feeling their body start arriving to the space, to the mattress. And later on, then oil would be introduced and the massage would then begin. And it's very intuitive as well. There is not so much of a sequence as there would be in any traditional massage, like a Swedish massage or a Thai yoga massage, where my background is. But it's about feeling where the energy wants to move and where it's needed to be moved, and following these rhythms and following the different types of touches, the soft and the stronger, the yin and the yang, again, these polarities that I mentioned before, and finding what responses with that body. And if it's a bodily response, bodily communication, or a verbal communication, that can be a very good guide for the whole session. And obviously in a Tantra massage, as we've been talking a lot about, the sexual and the sensual aspect of it and the holistic aspect of it, any body parts are not being excluded. So every body part is included, including the lingam and the yoni, which are the Sanskrit words for the penis and the vagina. So that's how it would look like. And obviously it's not a goal-oriented massage. It's concentrating on to the journey itself and encouraging people to really feel their bodies in a different way, perhaps they never felt before.
Beautiful. Yeah. And pro tip from my side, bring a hair comb, because you need to, of course, have a shower afterwards, because there's oil everywhere. And I was surprised how much oil was in my hair. And I was like, what? How do I look? And I was like, good that I had a business trip and I had my hair stuff with me afterwards. So that is important.
We also have shampoo and body shower gel in the studio as well for the emergency wash, but obviously it helps if there is a lot of oil in the hair and the hair is a lot, for example, to have it removed then in a private setting afterwards as well.
Definitely. And it's so enjoyable. I can just say that from my experience, because I was so relaxed. Also, when you said like, okay, maybe you need to go to the bathroom in between, because every time you have someone stroke your body or massage your body, what will definitely happen is lymphatic drainage. So everything in your lymphatic system is going into movement, and that always results in, I definitely need to have a bathroom break. And all of that is possible in between the session, and 3 hours just fly by. That was so sad for me. It's like, what? It's over? No, I want to stay another 3 hours. It was really enjoyable, and you can really, or for myself, I really relaxed in the session. Really nice.
Wonderful. Maybe can I add an aspect of it? Yeah, it's impressive how fast the time goes by when we're present, right? It's as if time didn't exist. So people are always also impressed with how long the sessions are, but when they experience it, they see that it goes by very quickly in this meditative space. What I wanted to point out is that the consent is very important for us during the massages. So nothing is going to happen that you don't feel comfortable with at any moment. So we use also verbal communication. So we ask you, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing, to create the space? And Linda mentioned this already, but maybe more in concrete terms, so that we create the space for you to speak up from what is going on for yourself. And if something doesn't feel comfortable yet, if you're not comfortable, for instance, in being naked, we work with that. So we cover you up and see, okay, what do you need to come into this relaxation and surrender that we are aiming for? Right. So we always work with what's present there, and everything is welcome. If it's nervousness or unsafe, you're not feeling safe, we see what do you need. So you don't have to be afraid of anything happening that you don't want to.
And I definitely can say that was also my experience, because Linda was asking me all the time, like, is that okay? Should I do that? Or do you want something different? And I was just like, just continue. I don't want to think. But the consent is super, super important. So it's great that she always asked me, and it's like, okay, do you need that? And even if she asked me that already before, it's like 1 hour later, and it's like, is that still good? Or should we change something? So that was pretty cool. And I think that is also a learning experience for a lot of people, that even though I asked one question once, doesn't mean that's gonna adapt to everything else that happens afterwards as well. So always ask about consent. And it also reminded me a lot of transaction analysis and our 3 Ps of permission, protection, potency. So I was like, basically this is a touchy TA session. Amazing.
Yeah, wonderful. Definitely, that's a very important. I'm happy you took that out for yourself. But yeah, consent is constantly changing, for sure. And yeah, we use this so in a traditional neo-tantra context, where, let's say, when tantra massage was implemented in the West or the German-speaking area was around the 70s. So that massage was silent. The communication was only through touch. And this more modern approach, which is the one that we follow, is more therapeutic. And in the sense, we ask these questions, and sometimes they might be uncomfortable for the receiver, but the idea, the therapeutic idea behind is that we learn to create a greater connection between what we're feeling and what we perceive we're feeling and what we're able to communicate about it. Because many times we don't even have the vocabulary to say what is going on for us in this vulnerable context. And to learn to speak from this place of vulnerability, of feeling deeply, will help you in all your relationships, in your sexual encounters, but also in your relationships in your life in general, if you're able to communicate what's going on for you. And there is also the time where it's about surrendering completely and diving into, like, only melting into the pleasure and not talking, of course. But we see great value in keeping this open verbal communication during the massage.
Yeah. Even though I have to say, at one point I thought, like, I think I said something, and then I was like, what did you say? And I felt like I was drunk. I was so relaxed that it didn't really make sense what came out of my mouth. And I'm like, what? Wait, I need to concentrate. So it's really, if you are in the moment and you really relax, and this is also a good thing for you to know, you are laying down on a warmed up or constantly heated mattress, and it's warm around you. There's no freezing or anything. It's super comfortable, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna stay here. This is it. That was really nice to experience.
Great.
Yeah. So you already said a lot about the benefits of Tantra. What are things maybe or stereotypes you very often encounter that you really would like to also bring up here and counterbalance somehow?
Well, many times Tantra is used as a word to signify sex, right? Or a specific type of sex. But Tantra is much more than that, right? It's this relationship with yourself and then with others, moving the energy in the body. So I guess the confusion that is important to clarify is people that confuse Tantra massages with erotic massages. Sexual energy is welcome in our session, but that's not the main goal of it. Our main goal is to be present with whatever is there and with that establish this connection to yourself, right? So sexual energy might come up, but it might maybe not come up, and that's welcome. Everything that is welcome. It's a exercise in complete acceptance of what is and being, which is quite different from an erotic massage where you go because maybe you accumulated some sexual energy and you want to release. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what we offer. So we offer this journey into feeling yourself. We need much more time for it. If sexual energy comes up, that's welcome. If not, that's also welcome. Maybe expressly mentioning that an orgasm, if it happens, it's perfect. If it doesn't happen, it's also perfect. It's really this radical acceptance of you and however, whatever is there for you in this moment. I would say that's the greatest difference. When people come with a clear expectation, they want to have an orgasm, it's probably not going to work out and they're not going to be satisfied. Neither are we.
It's also a point about the mindset. Yeah. Linda, do you have anything else to add to that?
I think that was pretty overall answer already. I would have said the same things that that Paula already said.
Yeah, so when I started this business, one of my main intention is to create a space where people can come that want to work on themselves and want to have indeed a different new experience of their bodies, themselves, sexuality, and expand their consciousness in terms of what they know about what their body is capable of, and to differentiate with people. I mean, it's mostly men, because in our societies it's much more accepted for men to pay for social services, that end up finding our website and coming. They understand there's something beyond from an erotic massage, but not really. So sometimes that is challenging for us if people are not really open to experience something new and have a clear idea of what to expect. And other times it's also quite beautiful, because they are open, even though they only know erotic massages, and they were originally looking for that. Once they experienced the Tantra massage, wow, there's so much more to it, and become then also loyal clients.
That is really nice to hear. Also, like, I wanted to ask that, like, what is the percentage of your clients, female and male wise? And Linda wants to add something to the information as well.
Sorry, it went already. Went already. Flew by.
Flew by. Happens.
Yeah, okay.
So what would you say, like, is it 50-50 in percentage of male and female clients? Because now you said like predominantly male that find your homepage. What would you say in your experience?
Yeah, so our intent, you go ahead.
Maybe you even have a better overall picture about it, but I feel I don't know any percentage of the customers. It's very difficult to say, but all in all, I would say the male clients are the most, maybe 70%. Correct me if I'm totally wrong, Paula.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to make it as inclusive as possible and invite more women to come. We try to do that on our website, but many men are used to, as I mentioned, to pay for sexual services. So in their search for sexual services, they end up finding Tantra massage, or it's more socially accepted that they're going to pay for this. And at the same time, they receive less of intimacy than women, because women are better at sharing with their friends what's going on in their lives and to be listened to by some of them, whilst men have a socially conditioned bigger difficulty to establish intimate moments with people if it's not a purely sexual context, right? So men experience intimacy through sexuality. So for them, it's easier to associate these two things. And yeah, women unfortunately are not so used. We're more used to spend money with beauty procedures and aesthetics and buying clothes and bags and things like that, but not so much on paying for us to be touched and experience intimacy with ourselves in the first place. But the beautiful thing is that more and more people come to it because they want to experience and expand their consciousness, as I mentioned before, so learn something out of it. And women come more because they want to work on something specific, and men come many times just to have a good time.
But nevertheless, even while having a good time, you also have a lot of energy clearings and stuff. So that's cool. That is a big thank you going out to the men who already do that. And please bring other men as well. Very nice. And I also thought, when I was looking up your homepage, because I was looking for a practitioner in Berlin, because I was on a business trip anyways, and I thought, like, yep, Halle is not delivering so well, and Leipzig is also on our way, and I was like, no, also not the things that I feel good with, but I think it's also connected to the city. It's not my favorite city. So I was like, I look it up in Berlin, and I saw your page, and I really liked your page because it was very structured, very open, very clear, also introducing all the practitioners, and of course also headshots, because I ended up on some brothels and I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to go here, but that was interesting. And so it's a really nice homepage that you have, and also that you're very transparent about the pricing of everything and the different things you can book, which I like, because when I search for something, I always want to budget it in and know about everything already and not just ask 1,000 questions. And what I also thought was very interesting, because I contacted you and Paula immediately answered me also for the appointment and the time. And she also offered, like, would you like to have a male practitioner or a female practitioner? And my brain went completely sexist. I'm sorry for that, but that was super interesting finding that out for myself, because I was reading your question and I just thought, what? Why would I pay for the B game? Of course, I want a woman. And I think this is also a strange thing. I don't know how is the percentage from the viewpoint of, is it the same sex as massage, or different sexes who massage each other, and you have male as well as female practitioners as well?
Yeah, it's quite interesting you bring that up, because indeed the male practitioners have a hard time in this area, because indeed men want to come to women and many women want to come to women as well. That's not an absolute rule. Of course, there are many women that couldn't imagine coming to a woman, that the first reaction is, of course, I'm going to go to a man because I wouldn't be so intimate with a woman. But indeed, the majority feels more comfortable coming to a woman. And we have to say that both experiences are very beautiful. So if you get massaged by the opposite sex, there is an extra amount of duality there, right? Of polarity, I mean. So there might be more of a fiery energy, for instance. And when you're massaged by the same gender, it's also terribly beautiful, because you appreciate the beauty of someone that has the same body as yourself, and you're able to melt into the same quality of energy and learn to appreciate your own body much more, to being so close to another body that is like yours.
And I also told that to Linda, and she was like, yeah, maybe you try a man next time. And I was like, I first tried the session and I thought, like, no, I do think I'll take Linda again, and maybe on the third or fourth approach, I'm gonna try something new. It's funny how we are wired in that way. I was also not expecting that about myself. I was like, what? Interesting. How is that thought coming about right now?
Yeah, it shows a lot how we relate to both genders, right? There might have women that had negative experiences with other women, competition, or didn't feel safe with their mother, for instance, and then they're not going to feel safe with another woman. And others had a great relationship with their parents, for instance, or felt safe in that, or many others, as unfortunately is the case in our society, had bad experience with the opposite gender and find it much harder to trust that. So it says a lot about yourself, actually.
Definitely. And also if you deep dive into it and look at it, because I was like immediately looking at it, like, why is that? And then I thought to myself, yeah, because a woman grew up with the same body as I did. She knows all the parts, so she knows what she's doing, which is stupid, because if you are in a further education or in a workshop, you learn all of that. It's uninteresting which gender you are. But I was like completely framing that with like, nope, it's the same as I am, so that's going to be good. And it's like, a dangerous way of thinking. So I need to work on my thinking there as well.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, we experience a lot also a confusion between giving and taking in our societies, right? So many times we go into sexual interactions and we think, okay, now I'm going to receive something, but it's actually the other person taking for their own pleasure. So it's important to point out that in a Tantra massage specifically, the giver is giving and not taking. So it's they're touching the receiver for the pleasure of the own receiving, or for the process of the own receiver, and not their own. Even if they are present and allow all the feelings to be there, they are in service of the other person. And there's a concept called the wheel of consent that is quite big in the sex positive scene, and explains this relationship, right? When you're taking, the other person is allowing, and when you're giving, the other person is receiving. And you can dive deep into that, but I think it's a very useful tool for us to relate in general in a sexual way to everyone. So have a research on that if you're interested.
That is really good. Yeah. And it's a good offer, because I think we need to do that more often to really think about that topic. Nice.
Yes.
Linda, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, often we feel in our societies, we're wired in what Paula said about the giving and receiving. I just wanted to add something to that. It's very common to think that when you're receiving something, you also have to give it back. And in our sessions, we really remind this, or we remind and talk about this topic in the pre-talk already, so that it is clear to the receiver that they are only receiving at this time. And especially in my experience, this is a topic for a lot of men, that they feel that since they are the masculine, the giving polarity anyways, that they have to give something back, and the receiving gets harder at that point.
Also very interesting. Yeah,
that's an interesting discovery for sure.
Yeah, and also if you have the opportunity to get everyone, no gender specifics here, more into their feelings and their understanding about themselves, is definitely a help for all of society. So that is pretty amazing. Yeah, I like that. So what is up for the both of you in your futures, and also regarding Tantra? Is there anything on the horizon for you?
You want to start, Linda?
Sure, I can start. Well, my plan for the future is to keep on working in this field and keep on learning and deepening my personal knowledge in somatic body work and movement medicine, as I call it, through my own experiences and through giving and receiving, obviously. And yeah, this field is so vast, and there is so much to learn, and there are so many directions that one can go. And starting to give Tantra massages has been a really big door opener for me. And I feel that my aim is to move towards more coaching individuals and groups in sessions as well. And something similar that Paula is doing, I'm very interested in that. And I'm very interested in de-armoring trainings as well. Now I'm starting my apprenticeship with one of my mentors, Sunny Yu, and she's adopted me to her team as an assistant, and I'm really excited about that opportunity as well. So yes, that's something that is in my future and in my visions, and obviously, yeah, to spread the message of tantric, fulfilling and embodied life, right? And everybody deserves to feel loved and connected and belonging, and we need to normalize that. So that, I feel, is one of the most important missions in my life.
Nice, I like it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Linda. Well, where to start? So at the moment at Journey Within, we offer tantric body work. So the Tantra massages, that might be a full Tantra massage with genital touch or not, depending on what you need at a certain moment or where you want to start. Then we also offer coachings where we work on specific topics, or just teach you to be more in your body, allowing more energy to flow through more emotions and connecting more to your inner truth and guidance. Then we offer also couples sessions. So it might be a coaching or it might be a couples massage, or it might be a private Tantra massage class where you get to learn this to practice with each other. Then we have a program that is specifically for women that can be individual in the coaching, or it can be in groups. So we also have our group courses in general. So for the first time now in March 24 to 26, we're doing a Tantric Women's Retreat, where the idea is to learn to release whatever doesn't serve you anymore, learn to feel your feelings more, and then go into an exploration to what is your relationship with yourself and with your body. And also coming then into a nurturing aspect of it. How do you nurture and gift yourself and celebrate the amazing human being that you are? So it's a whole journey over 3 days, which we're very excited about. And on a regular basis, we're offering the Tantra massage courses, level 1, 2, and 3. Which you can read more about on the website, but it's a great introduction into the practices, and it also empowers you to take these techniques into your everyday life. So for the future, my idea is to keep on empowering everyone in my team to develop more. If you're offering Tantra massages, to go into the coaching and the courses. I feel like this work is so important, and there couldn't be enough of us doing it, to balance out the extremely rational mindsets that we have in society. So how do we come more into our body? How do we heal the relationship with our bodies and our emotions and create a greater balance between these two aspects in our lives? How do we live more authentically and learn to communicate our needs and desires? And with that, create more peaceful relationships as well, less wars, less conflict, and more respect for each other and for nature around us. So the work is very big. It's infinite work. So for the future, I want to empower everyone in my team to also give courses, to expand also the range of the courses we have. In the future, we want to offer a Tantra coaching workshop, where it's the coaching in a group process. And yeah, keep on expanding and sharing this wisdom. So we also recently, 1 or 2 months ago, started our Instagram to reach out to more people that maybe are not actively looking for this, that haven't heard about Tantra before. Maybe we can reach out to them with that communication channel as well. So you're welcome to follow us and to learn more about Tantra there. We also make it a point to share content there. What is Tantra? And everything we've been talking about today. So that's Tantric _journey within, if you want to find us on Instagram. And yes, keep on expanding the work.
I'm gonna link that, of course, underneath the video as well, so people can easily find you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Then I'm already coming to the last question, and that is the question: what, each of you, is your gift to the world?
Would you like to start, Linda?
Oops, I was on mute, sorry. I was laughing on the mute microphone here. Yes, I can start. I will just keep it very short and descriptive. I would say my gift to the world is my presence and my love, because I am love.
That's very beautiful. I believe my gift to the world is facilitating for people to get in contact with themselves and with the beauty that they are, and to this feeling, even if it's not constant, but access this feeling that they are already perfect and that they are divine and that they contain infinite love inside of them.
Very beautiful. Both beautiful gifts. I love it. And that just keeps me on saying thank you very much for your time, and that you took all the questions today and that you answered so beautifully to the topic of Tantra.
Thank you so much for asking the questions and making us reflect on them as well, and giving us the opportunity to share about this work.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your curiosity and bringing it to the world.
Love doing that.